What's happening, people? Welcome back to the Scarfey Talks Premier League podcast. In this episode, we'll be previewing Game Week 23 as you return to Premier League action for those clubs that have been playing in Europe. Of course, it is a change of competition. For others, it's business as usual. And I've got a panel that's been carefully selected with the fixtures this weekend. So let's introduce them one by one because I've got three fantastic guests on with me. Firstly, Ollie, founder of the Simply AFCB Bournemouth fan page. Ollie, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. I'm looking forward to getting into this. I'm feeling a little bit rough today, but this is a good patch of the day, so I'm looking forward to it.
Should be good. Thank you for your time. Of course, Bournemouth playing Liverpool this weekend, so that should be interesting. Big game. Thank you for joining me. Louis, welcome back on. You're up first. Yeah, as a West Ham fan. I mean, again, big game for you, like every game is at the moment. But how have you been doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Coffee in hands. Good set of fixtures to talk about. It's all good. I'm looking forward to it.
Not bad. Good way to, as we head into Friday, get towards the end of the week. That's what we love. Louis, thank you very much. And Matt, off the back as an Arsenal fan and a big win in Europe. And of course, as always, an important game in the Premier League. This one feels significant. How you doing, Matt?
Yeah, good. I can't complain. Top of the Champions League, top of the Premier League, in a semi-final. Can't complain at all.
Don't rub it in. But no, you're absolutely right. You're doing very well at the moment. So thank you for your time. So yeah, Bournemouth, West Ham, and Arsenal fan for tonight. So something new then, if those are listening on YouTube, there's a QR code on your screen which takes you straight to subscribing to the YouTube channel. So I didn't know that was a feature I could use. So I might as well, you pay for it, take advantage of what you get. No idea this is included. So there we go. Top left for me. So if I move my head, it should be next to me there and literally takes you straight there by scanning it. Subscribe to the channel, which makes it a little bit easier. By the way, it should be easy enough. So if you haven't already, on that note, please subscribe. This very soon will be an audio platform. So when it is and you listen to this back, if you do, please drop us a follow and a 5-star review. Let's get straight into it then. Before we talk about the games, there was some big news that was announced before coming on about Casemiro. For those who haven't seen it, Casemiro will be leaving Manchester United at the end of the season. Matt, can I get your reaction to this decision firstly?
Look, I think it's the right move, the right decision for pretty much all parties. He's getting, he's getting older now. I don't think he's a Premier League level standard player anymore. I think he's sort of decayed in his ability, as players do when they get older. And I think, he should probably explore, a Saudi move. And I think with Manchester United, I mean, the wages he was on was absolutely ridiculous. So I think that they will be happy once he leaves because those wages will be off the book.
It was huge wages, absolutely. And however good you may be, of course, the wage bill is something to consider. Matt, thank you. Ollie, hypothetical here, and I suppose we never really know the answer. And some people will think, I'm ludicrous to even suggest it. But if Ruben Amorim has still been here, do you think we would have got the same outcome with Casemiro, leaving at the end of the season? And do you think it would have been announced, this far from the end of the season? It just feels like very soon after the manager's left. But again, could be just putting two and two together.
Yeah, I think he would have left anyway. I think it was inevitable. As Matt said, I think he was getting on. And I'm actually quite surprised he didn't leave sooner. To be fair, because he was, for a little while he has been declining. He's a decent player, he's reliable, but he is getting on now, and I think it's the right decision for all parties. I think even if Amorim was there, it was going to happen. Maybe just me, but I do think it was inevitable anyway.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your honesty on that. Louis, what do you think about this? Because, of course, Casemiro is one of those players that a lot of people look at. It's already been said, and comes, his legs are going, etc. He's got to leave. But do you think United will miss his experience? And I think he's actually done better than maybe people give him credit for. I think he started slow and there's been blips, absolutely. But I think if you look at it, I think there's been some games that's been key for United. But I want to get your thoughts, as well as this decision to leave, whoever decision it may be at the end of the year. What have you made of his impact at Manchester United?
I think he's had an impact more in terms of the leadership rather than the effect on the pitch. I think he's probably one of those figures that you'd really like to have around the dressing room. Can maybe get some things in an organised fashion in the event that things are to go wrong. But I mean, it's one of those things. if you look back on it, it's a nightmare of a transfer, isn't it? Look how much they paid for him. They paid 70 million euros for him. I mean, it's unbelievably expensive, and that was ludicrous money then, and it's ludicrous money now. I think it's just one of those. It was a chapter that was bound to end at some point. Probably a move to Saudi is on the cards. Big name, big player, screams a Saudi move. I'm sure Manchester United won't have troubles finding a replacement, but I do think that they will miss his leadership aspect that he did bring to the club.
Absolutely, I agree with that. I think they'll miss that 100%. Sometimes you have to look beyond that footballing ability, but at the same time, if you're not performing, decisions like that will be made. So I don't know about if any of you saw it. I don't know whose decision it was, whether it was mutual consent or United, it was their decision, or Casemiro. I don't know if you've seen that, but
I
I'm
think
not
they
sure.
agreed on all parties. But
Right.
on the Casemiro deal, I just think that Man United thought, he was still not in his prime, but still able to play top level football because he was at Real Madrid, he was winning Champions Leagues, and then he then moves to Man United and he's just fallen off. And I just think it's just a bit of a raw decision to bring him into the Premier League.
100%. Thank you, Matt. Again, hard to disagree with. Appreciate it. So let's move on then to what we're here to talk about, and that is game week 23 and previewing it. The next game week in the Premier League is going very, very quickly, faster than we can keep up. First game being West Ham and Sunderland. Let's come to the West Ham fan on the panel. We must be a little bit happier after West Ham winning not too long ago, a few days now. Levy, how do you feel going into this game? Of course, every game's important. So I'm sure I sound like a broken record, and I'm sure you'll hear people saying how important every game is at the moment, including manager Nuno. But it does feel in front of your home fans against a newly promoted team that have definitely been doing really well. And I would say punches above their weight, but they've actually, I think, deserved where they are. The point is, though, this could be a game where you look at it and go, if we can get back-to-back wins, that'd be huge, because Sunderland aren't as good away from home as at home. So how do you view your chance in this game?
It's definitely a tough one. We're going to struggle massively. I think if I was Nuno, obviously Nuno wasn't here at the beginning of the season, but I'd be reminding the players that we got battered 3-0 on the first day. That was a really ugly showing. Probably even worse at the time because no one knew how Sunderland would actually, end up doing. I'm sure people tipped them to go down, and that's what they did to us on the first day. It was not a pleasant game. We were walked over. And I think both teams will come into this game with confidence. I am very glad that this isn't at Sunderland ground, because then we'd definitely be talking trouble. But fortunately, that's already done and out the way. It's at home. We haven't had a clean sheet in 20 matches, which is the stat I dug out for us, which is a painful one. We're a squad which is 2 wins and a bounce. We've got some confidence, but we are losing our attacking midfielder at the moment, our only attacking midfielder at this club. And we've got problems. Transfer wise, we've still got problems. We got, I think, a week left of this transfer window, a week and a few days, and it's not looking good. But our one bit of confidence that we've got is we can go into this game feeling confident about the QPR game, feeling confident about the Forest game that we had despite us not getting a result, and also obviously massive win over Spurs. And hopefully we can wiggle down this gap, which is closing every week.
Thank you, Louis, for that. And on a side note, there's been news come through in the last hour about Radu Dragusin, who's Tottenham defender, linked to West Ham. As a Tottenham fan, I can say that Dragusin has been injured and only recently come back and got no minutes, isn't eligible to play in Europe. But in terms of pecking order, he's likely third choice centre back if we're being kind, or maybe fourth behind Kevin Danso, who's done a good job. Of course, West Ham, you'd think could get a lot more minutes, but Spurs are struggling to field an 11 of senior players, so I don't know if they're sanctioning the move of another. But is this a move that would interest you? Because, seems like a top defender. He's certainly got an agent that thinks he's a top defender. He has an awful lot to say. If anyone doesn't, know, he's always talked about Tottenham being a stepping stone, and, he didn't want him to go there in the first place. And he's been very vocal throughout his career about, Dragusin and how, he's mistreated everywhere. But do you think he could add real value to West Ham or sort out that defence?
Before I speak on that point, look, Harry, you're a Spurs fan and you'll understand this as well, is that I don't know what has happened. I don't know. There was this thing since we sold Scott Parker to Spurs. There was no business, and David Sullivan swore he'd never do business with Tottenham ever again. And we sold Kudus to Spurs, and now all of a sudden, Spurs and West Ham are best friends. And
I
now
know.
we're like, oh, do you want this player? Actually, no, we like him from you. Can we have him here? You know, 1 minute Somerville's linked to you, who's our only winger at the club. Next minute, we got a swap deal of Kinski and Hermanson, and now we've got
know.
Dragusin. I don't know what that meeting must have looked like. We might have tried to offer you Kilman. I would have
Oh,
hoped
no.
so, but
Apparently you did previously. I think that was a previous thing last, like, 6 months ago.
yeah, and then you probably walked out on the door. I mean, I don't really know what is going on. Do I want Dragusin? No. Is he better than Kilman? Probably, yes. So it's one of those things. Beggars can't be choosers. But at the moment, Harry, I don't think we're going to get a centre back. This Paqueta deal is taking far too long to go through. We've got a player that wants to leave, and unfortunately, we're refusing to sell him. So, you know, we're in a lose-lose position here because we're either going to get less money for someone we should be getting more for, or we're going to have a massive hole in our team and be forced to work around it. So I'm not too sure what's going on. The board are not being helpful as per, but I wouldn't expect anything less.
It's funny, though, isn't it, how Tottenham and West Ham are both a sinking ship, and I blame both owners for both clubs' problems. So it's funny how they're maybe working together to sink both clubs the way they're going. But you're right. Where's this all something come from? Of course, some of it will be media, will be journalists that put two and two together and think there's now that connection there and will jump on any bandwagon or any outside conversation. But it looks like more business than ever. I mean, that goalkeeping one, I mean, I'm sorry, but I really, honestly, would not want that at all. You know, Hermanson, I don't rate. I was surprised when you signed him, if I'm honest with you. I look at that and go, we're just swapping keepers here. And I don't see Kinski playing above Areola for you, rightly or wrongly. So I just think we're just swapping backup goalkeepers for the sake of it. And I don't think Spurs, for example, get a good deal out of that. So I don't know what you think, but I looked at that and I thought, really?
I'll add to that I've seen a lot of Spurs fans saying a lot of things. It's one of those things where I feel people don't realise how loan deals work. The way it would work is the only way this deal would ever happen in any sort of play would be that both players in their contracts have to be the starting keeper. That's the only reason it would be sanctioned, because Nuno likes Kinski. That's been confirmed. He likes the idea of him, and he probably would start him over Areola. But the only way that deal would go through is if Hermanson was to start for Spurs. Otherwise, we would never do anything because we don't get anything out of it unless there was an obligation on the table. As much as I criticize David Sullivan for the way he does business, he doesn't do loan deals for no reason. There's always an option, there's always an obligation, or there's always something with game time. We have to do something. For example, we've put Fulkrug out on loan to Milan. We've got no money for him, but the contract thing is he has to start every game if he's fit. It would be this exact same with Hermanson. So if that deal is to go through, do not think Hermanson would sit on the bench. He would be the starting goalkeeper. Whether that is a good thing or not, that's not my opinion to add on to. But I would let you know now, and to the Spurs fan base, he would be the starting goalkeeper if this transfer were to happen.
Right, you've just worried me at my skin, but I appreciate you adding that. And it makes sense. Again, I don't know if it's necessarily how the way West Ham do business, so I appreciate that coming from you. I just used to watch Leicester when he hit him in goal, and I thought you're 99% of the problem. I don't rate him personally, and I would have him as honestly number 3, but a lot of people will call me crazy, I'm sure, for that. I can understand what West Ham are doing the deal, but Spurs are silly enough to have that conversation, and that's on them. But can I come to you, Ollie, with this one for Sunderland? I mean, they're, again, I say it a lot, but they're in a comfortable position now where they can go about their business, and it's a case of how many points can they pick up, because then they're no real threat or danger at all of going down. In this game, though, of course, home form is far superior than away form. I mean, would you say that we'll still be looking to win this game? A draw maybe on the eye still doesn't look like a good result for Sunderland?
I think, as you say, I think they're going to be looking to get just as many points as they can now. Obviously, West Ham winning their last game, they're going to try and build from that. And I think Sunderland will see that and go, we need to step up our game here. And obviously, the last game, I think at home was probably quite disappointing for them to draw against Palace, really. So they're going to be looking to try and get something from the West Ham game. But I think they're going to find it tough as well. It's not going to be easier for either team. Obviously, for West Ham, it's not going to be easy, but they are at home. They have that home advantage, and winning their last game at home, they've got a. What was it away? Was it away? Or was it at home? Yeah, I thought
Away.
so. But I think again this time they got their home advantage, and they need to make that count. Although, yeah, Sunderland need to keep picking up points to make sure they can finish as high up the table, because higher up the table you finish, the higher bonus you get at the end of the season. So that's going to count for them in their second season in the Premier League. I don't think they've got any threat of going down, but I think they need to focus on finishing as high. And obviously with West Ham, they need to start picking up these points. It's getting serious now. So for both teams, it's a very important game, and even for Sunderland for sure.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Ollie. Matt, if I come to you as we move into the next game, not too much to add there. Fulham and Brighton. How do you view this game? Because Fulham are a strange side that seem a lot better than they were, let's say, the first 10 games of the season. I mean, this is a game that they maybe look to try and win as Brighton really struggle to find form.
Fulham, I think, have a problem at creating chances, and with Brighton, I mean, they're always going to score, but it's a matter of can they score more than they concede, because their defense ain't great. There's always goals in their games, and that's why I like watching them, because it is literally just goals galore. But how I see this game going, I think Fulham edge it 2-1 probably, just because they're at home.
Okay, good stuff. Thank you very much. Start with predictions. You know what? We should go. Let's go back. I forgot to give the predictions. Me getting everyone's thoughts, and we completely bypassed the predictions. So I'll go around the panel quickly on that. Forgot the most important bit. Louis, score prediction for this one, and we will move on to Fulham and Brighton. Jump the gun there.
I've had to go with some positivity, as I always do on this podcast. So I've gone with, hopefully we continue our form. I've gone 2-1 West Ham.
Okay, thank you. Ollie, what do you reckon in terms of score prediction? You talk about importance in terms of this game for both sides.
Oh, was that me? Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Go for it.
I reckon it's going to be 3-2 to West Ham. It's going to be a
Okay.
high-scoring game, but important for both. But I think West Ham are going to edge it. I'm going to go with Louis. There you go, mate.
Okay. Good stuff. And Matt?
I think that Tottenham result will spur West Ham on, and I think they're going to get a 2-0 win.
Louis,
Music to my ears.
Where's this come from? Absolutely. Good stuff. Thank you. And then Fulham and Brighton, which we started to talk about there, Matt giving his predictions. Louis, coming to you, what do you reckon for this game? How do you see it going? And if you can end with your score prediction.
Well, it's a tough one because both sides are very, very close to each other. Fulham are 11th in the table and Brighton are 12th. 1 point, between the pair. It's very interesting because Fulham were on a 6 unbeaten streak before their loss to Leeds, which was only very late on. So assuming they could have maybe got a 0-0 draw out of that, they would have been unbeaten in 7. They've had some really, really good form, and there was a point where people tipped them to go down, and now it seems that that's changed. They're sort of fighting up there, trying to do the best they can. But Brighton have been, they've been bailed out recently. I think if you look at their last fixtures, that Bournemouth game was luck. That goal was a freak goal, and it's one that's not going to happen on a regular. And in honesty, they've still managed to get themselves in a position where they're 4 points off Europe. So I do think it's going to be a very big game. But as a common theme of Brighton matches, I think it's going to be very, very close. And I've gone with a 1-1 prediction. I think they'll cancel each other out.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. A lot of people will look at this and go, it's a draw because they are similar in the table, which you did point out. Louis, thank you very much. Ollie, how do you feel about this game? Because, Louis is right to mention that they are very close, one place apart, in fact, in the table. But the thing is that the form is a little bit different. I'm not saying that Brighton have been disastrous, but their results haven't been fantastic across the last 6, whereas Fulham have been better in the last 6. So Fulham with the momentum and the form, but Brighton maybe with attacking firepower. How do you view this one? And if you can end with your score prediction as well.
Yeah, so after I watched Monday's game, I Brighton can get easily figured out. That's kind of what I'm getting the gist of with
Yes,
them.
that's true.
It's very they can be very predictable at times, and like in the second half against us, they were very good. To be fair, they dominated the play, even though obviously there was reasons as to why. But I could just see the fact that sometimes they do just fold, and Fulham are consistent enough. They have been over the past few seasons, and I always see them as getting their momentum back at some point. And obviously, at the moment, they're in good form on the whole. And yeah, I see them, especially with the fact they're at home as well. I see them edging it 2-1. Because I just think they are the better team on the day, and they will edge them out at the end of the day. Not to say Brighton will have a bad performance though, because they are okay as well. But they're just they're just never good enough. And I do think Fulham will edge them 2-1.
Thank you very much. Next game is Burnley and Tottenham. Ollie, coming back to you, if we focus on Burnley initially, they haven't won since October. They, struggling and play most games with the approach of shutting up shop and focusing on defence. Quite the contrary from Burnley under Vincent Kompany. Got them results in the Championship, but let's not sugarcoat it. They're 8 points adrift in the Premier League, and time is running out. A game like this for them, do you think they have to be winning it?
I think they have to be looking to hopefully get a point. I think that's kind of what Scott Parker wants. He wants
Is that
to
enough though? The situation they're in, they get a lot of points but no wins.
Well, in the grand scheme of the Premier League, then yeah, they have to be looking to get as many points as they can. Obviously, Tottenham are a good side. They have a good team, and Tottenham should be looking to win that on the contrast. But yeah, you are right. They should be if they want to stay up, they need to be looking to get these points. Although the way they set up, they do set up to not score any goals and hopefully not concede too many. But Tottenham have got Solanke back now. They're looking to score goals again. And I think this will be the turning point for Tottenham entirely, to be honest, since they got a bit more firepower back, and I think that's what they needed. So tell you what, I'm gonna go for a 2-0 Tottenham. I think that's
Okay.
how it's gonna go. That's gonna go like that.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Matt, again on Burnley, someone like Kyle Walker has been struggling for form. Maybe the game's catching up for him. You feel like for players like him, the heartbeat of the defence, the big name in the defence, they're going to have to be on it with some attacking quality that Tottenham have. Again, struggling for numbers, but there is still, glimpses of quality in their Tell and Solanke. And you feel like if Burnley set the foundation with a good defensive performance, that's how they're going to get a win in this game. So how do you view it?
I've got a different opinion
Ooh.
on how Burnley have done. They got a 1-1 draw against West Ham at Anfield, by the way, which is an incredible point for them. And I think that they'll look from that result like on a positive note. Obviously, Tottenham played midweek, and they got a good result. And I think, well, for me, I'm hoping that Frank lasts, until the North London derby, so we can sack him. But I think that both teams should look to win this game. I think Burnley more than Tottenham should be like wanting to win, because if they win, that pushes them out of, wouldn't push them out of the relegation, but they've got 3 points closer to Nottingham Forest. And I think it will be a 2-2 result. I think it'll be a draw.
And Matt,
Because
is it
it
one of
wouldn't
those
surprise me, because
No.
Tottenham go out and smash Dortmund in terms of how you played, the result, and then you drop points to Burnley. It wouldn't surprise me.
No, it wouldn't surprise me either as a Tottenham fan. Let me just tell you that. But Matt, I think you're right in saying like a draw, but also I look at that right and go, that for me suits neither side. Context is important, and you often look back at it after and go hindsight. Of course, if let's say Tottenham go 2-0 up or are 2-0 up in the 80th minute, at the end it ends 2-2, then that's a good result for Burnley in the end, no doubt about it. But generally speaking, without that context, a result helps neither. It means that Burnley are just again closer to their destination in the Championship, and Tottenham are closer to ending their path with Thomas Frank and ultimately closer to the bottom three, whether fans like it or not. So is it one of those
Well,
that a draw? It doesn't
I
help
agree
either,
with
does
that.
it?
I agree with that. And I just think both teams will look at this game and think both teams can win this game, because Burnley will look at Tottenham in the Premier League and think, we can get at them here. We're at home. We've got the fans on our side. We can get at them here. And Tottenham will look at it is in what haven't won since October. So that's kind of why I think both teams will try and go for the win, but neither will succeed because it will just end in the draw.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I mean, not many games is a draw or a catastrophic result for either, but it just feels awful just before a ball's kicked for both. I'd go as far as saying that. Maybe on Tottenham, then the visitors in this game, very good record. For Burnley, well, against Burnley, I should say, in the last 6 games, I think Tottenham are unbeaten, and they've been very strong. Not previously necessarily, but in the last 6, they have been strong. With Burnley, of course, going through and Spurs, various different managers, and Tottenham off the back of the Borussia Dortmund game with only 12 fit senior players and putting in, I'd argue, the best performance of the season and the best result of the season. Huge surprise, come from nowhere and dominated completely. So can Tottenham take that confidence into the league? Because ultimately Tottenham are 14th in the Premier League, but 5th in the Champions League table.
I think they can take that confidence and move it into the Premier League, but I think we can also give the flip side to Burnley, how they got a draw against Liverpool. So it's sort of, that's again a very clash on clash sort of moment across this game, as it is with most things. Burnley, I can start naming some of their stats. They're undefeated in the last 3. They've got the home advantage. Spurs have been dealt with another injury blow with Bergvall. He's out for 2 to 3 months. And, the way I put it like this is Burnley are 8 points from safety. To being safe. And Spurs are 10 points from being relegated. But Spurs are also 7 points off Europe. Right, so again, it does go to show how close that league position is. And for me, Spurs really need to win this game for the sake of confidence. And the reason why is, at the moment, Spurs are 10 points from safety. If West Ham are to get a point or win and Spurs are to lose, it means that goes into a single digit. That doesn't sound good for confidence. It really doesn't. And I think, in my opinion, I think what's going on with Thomas Frank at the moment is a very similar situation to what West Ham had under Lopetegui before we sacked him. He's winning 1 game and then he's losing 2, or he's losing 3, or he's not getting good results, and then he's winning 1, and he's on borrowed time. How many managers have a point where they have a big blip and then they lose the fans and they lose the fan base and then they end up becoming the hero again? How many managers have that moment? It's very, very rare to see in the Premier League. Very, very rare. And opposite to Ollie, I think this is going to be Burnley's continuation of form. And I don't think Spurs are going to come back on this one. It's going to put more pressure on Frank and probably be the gravestone, because I really thought he would have been sacked after the West Ham game. I thought that was it. He's gone. And the fact that a Dortmund performance, which you may have played well in against a 10-man side of Dortmund, is bought him more time. To me, as an outsider, it doesn't make much sense, but this is a must-win for both sides. I think they've both got confidence they can take in. I've gone with 1-0 Burnley.
It's difficult, though, isn't it, for Tottenham to sack Frank after that Dortmund game, because Dortmund have only lost 1 game in all competitions this season. They draw a lot, but they don't lose. They're second in the Bundesliga. They've finally got a good run of form before that game, really stable. And Tottenham were 1-0 up and in cruise control before the red card, I think it had little impact. Of course, it has some impact. We know that. So it feels. I know you're right, Louis, in what you're saying with Frank and how it's confusing because they're going by game basis. Because the club have literally come out and said that Frank will take the training and the media duties for Burnley. So it's interesting that they're coming out to say that. That suggests to me that it's a game by game basis that they're taking. Because they've done exactly the same for the Dortmund game, and ever since the West Ham game, that's been the case. So, Louis, I'd argue that they have no choice going into Burnley after that, because that's our best result and best performance of the season. I think it'd be crazy.
Harry, I think you're very brave to say that, in my opinion, because you're talking about you can't sack a manager after a win after you sacked Ange after winning a trophy. Your board evidently shows no remorse, and it can make a decision whichever that is and whatever they feel like. And I think, for example, hypothetically speaking, if he loses to Burnley and beats Frankfurt, does that mean he should get the game for City, United, Newcastle, and Arsenal?
Not necessarily, but Dortmund a lot stronger than Frankfurt, for example.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, if you were to lose to Burnley now, what does that do?
Yeah, if you lose to Burnley, I think you should be gone. Absolutely, I know what you're saying. It's difficult.
I think what I'm trying to say here is it's a yo-yo, and it's usually a yo-yo which ends with the manager being sacked. Whether that's now or in a month's time.
My point is, if that Dortmund game is a turning point, why not give him the opportunity to prove? Because if I'd argue that, like Pochettino, it took him a similar time to get it right, and Villa was a game on the road, and this is very similar point. If we link it to Tottenham and Frank as well, Brentford really slow start, and one game, boom, all of a sudden things just come together, and it feels weird to say it comes together when we had our best players who can impact a game not there. But I'm not saying it is. It could just be a one-off performance because at home in Europe, we have an unbelievable form and we just can't get anything like that in the league. So, and we were like that last year, winning the Europa. Literally, you could guarantee Tottenham winning the Europa League every week. We'd lose every week in the Premier League, especially if it's at home. You just knew it. Carbon copy every week. It feels the same, but with the Champions League. So it could just be that.
I will really, really quickly add that I think to add on to your point as a flip side in agreement with you is if we look at, if we just peel back maybe 3 or 4 weeks, we've got Newcastle fans calling for Eddie Howe to be sacked. If we look at their position now, they're 2 points off Champions League spots. So it goes to show, with 1 or 2 wins on the bounce in this division at the moment, when you are in and around, this is a great time to turn around. And I think Spurs, with 2 away fixtures in a row, could maybe build up some sort of momentum. If you are to beat Burnley and then you go to Frankfurt, you finish in the top 8 of the Champions League, that takes away 2 extra games that you have to play. I think that could be a big boost going into a game at home against a troubled City side. So this could also be a turning point. It's a make or break for Thomas Frank, this Burnley match. Make or break.
Certainly is. Matt, do you have something to add on Spurs?
Yeah, I just wanted to add onto a couple of things that if Spurs do get within 5 points of whoever's in 18th place, I do honestly think that the players and the manager and the club won't know how to react to a relegation battle because they're not going to be prepared for it and will therefore probably be relegated, probably because teams such as Burnley, such as West Ham, such as Forest are used to being in a relegation battle because they've been there before. With Tottenham, I mean, I don't know when the last time you got relegated, but I just don't think the club would be ready for that type of thing. And it leads me on to my next point on this Burnley game. Win, lose or draw, they need to make a decision on Thomas Frank for the rest of this season, because if you decide to sack him and get a interim in, that Frankfurt game is a free hit, because no matter what happens, you will qualify essentially, because Frankfurt are basically out. Well, I mean, they are out. So I don't think that they will put out their strongest team, and I think they'll rotate, and I think that they'll concentrate on their league. Because after that, it's hell month for Tottenham. It is genuinely hell month. And do you want Frank to be in charge, who is under severe pressure, who would be under even more pressure heading into those games, or would you want an interim, not a fresh start, but he's not got the amount of pressure that Frank has. And also, with this Bergvall injury, Frank needs to start trusting the youngsters, because he can't keep playing players out of position who, don't play in that position. Because you could argue Luca Williams-Barnett would be better than playing Gray at 10, because that is his position, and he will probably perform better regardless if he's, not a Premier League player at all. It's just the position he plays. He's played that position for years. So there's a lot of things heading into this game, and there's a lot of things heading out of this game that Tottenham need to, make a decision on.
I agree with all of that. I think, of course, it's very easy for everybody to go, let's judge Frank by game basis. But I think that helps absolutely nobody, that uncertainty. And it just feels very awkward. And Frank's saying that, of course, every manager's under pressure, but he's saying how he's having lunch with the board regularly and, feels the full back in and is looking really forward to the rest of the season. So I think the message to Frank is, you're fine. Really, you keep going, you're fine. You need to, of course, improve, but you're going to be fine till the end of the year.
Yeah, no, I
and
agree
it would
with
take
you.
something dramatic, rightly or wrongly, as fans. And I'm one of those fans that I've been very loyal and patient with Frank, but West Ham was a bit like, actually, maybe there's a decision to be made here. But people will say, oh, you flip flopped, etc. But as a Spurs fan on social media, if you said you weren't Frank out after West Ham, trust me, it was incredibly nasty. So sometimes you have to look at the situation and go, right, what's best for, A, you, and B, sometimes for everybody else. So, I was kind of boxed into a corner a little bit because I finished work and my phone was absolutely full. I was going, right, okay, I can see that is not good enough. I said, we might have to think about getting rid of Frank. And even people jumped to that. What do you mean think about? So people are very, very quick on that. But you're right with Tottenham.
I've just got my last point as well.
Yes.
In that, I get that you beat Dortmund in the Champions League, and I've said this after our result against Inter Milan. The Premier League is the best league in the world, and it's the hardest league in the world, and that is including the Champions League. You're seeing English teams absolutely maul German teams, Spanish teams, Italian teams who are top of the league, and Tottenham are 14th in the Premier League, and they've destroyed Borussia Dortmund, right? We battered Inter Milan, who are top of Serie A by quite a few points. And it just shows how competitive the Premier League is in terms of 5th to 15th. There's about 9 to 7 points in it. And when you look at that, that's crazy, because between 1st and 4th, there's 14 points. And I just think that the Premier League, in terms of competitive wise, it's at its highest it's ever been. But in terms of, obviously, on the eye, pretty football, it's absolutely appalling, and it's horrible to watch.
Yeah, that's very true. He makes some good points. And just lastly, in terms of Tottenham's run, if we focus just in the league after Frankfurt, it's Man City, then Man United, then Newcastle, Arsenal, Fulham, Palace, and Liverpool for Tottenham. I repeat, City, United, Newcastle, Arsenal, Fulham, Palace, and Tottenham. So it's not a nice run of fixtures at all, particularly those first 3 or 4. And we talk about a 10-point gap, not being funny, but Tottenham leads 3 or 4 of them, or in the row, let's just say, then it does get really uncomfortable and you are looking behind rather than ahead, with Bournemouth and Leeds in particular very close. But again, you're right to say not too far away from where the top 8 is either. Next game then, Man City and Wolves. I mean, if you just go back 2 months ago, even 3, a push, you look at this and go, City win 3-0, 5-0, make your mind up which way it's going to go, how many goals City are going to score. I think that situation is completely changed. Louis, starting with you on Man City, the home side at the Etihad, they have to bounce back, don't they, after what we've just seen? Bodo Glimt, and full credit firstly to Bodo Glimt, take nothing away from them. But City, of course, reimbursing their fans, I think tells you the way and the manner that they approached the game be, and also just how they got on generally. So they really struggled, and it was a bad result for them that will go down, and vice versa. Bodo's history it will go down in City's history, but for the wrong reason. Oh, everyone's going here. Don't know what's happening. But anyway, Matt, I'll put it to you on this game. I mean, how do you feel about it for City's point of view? They've got to win, haven't they?
I'll try not to be biased here. City, look, they need a bounce back. They need a bounce back, and it could be a shit performance. It could be one of the worst performances of all time or the best performance of all time. They need to win here, because if we get a result against Man United, I think the title race might be over. Having said that, Wolves are unbeaten in their last 5 games, and Man City they don't look comfortable at home. But they've got to win. I mean, I've gone with a Man City win on my last man standing, and it's only fair if I go a Man City win on here. 2-0.
Okay, good stuff. Thank you very much, 2-0 to Man City. Louis, as we were saying, I was talking about Man City. They've got to bounce back from Bodo, haven't they?
Yeah, they do. Technical issues, but overlooking that, I do think that this is one of those games where, I understand City are in a big dip of form, and I know Wolves have actually been holding their own this year so far, but I do believe that this is going to be a turning point for City. Pep's going to sit there and say, "Look, we can't risk any more mistakes, no more errors. We need to start getting some points now. Keep giving this title a go." I do think that, I don't think the title's decided for either team. I don't think it's decided for Arsenal. I don't think it's decided for City. I think the season is still long and anything can happen. But Pep knows that he can't afford to make any mistakes. City need to bounce back fully. And with the introduction of Mark Gahey, I think that this probably can happen. Haaland also needs to get back in some form. Semenyo needs to glue within the team and submerge himself. I've gone with a 2-0 win to Manchester City.
Also back in a City win. Thank you. Ollie, on Wolves, though, I mean, they haven't lost yet in 2026. This might change after this game. Wolves are in better form than Man City. Just let that digest just a little bit. The Wolves have actually gained on Man City in 2026. And we're nearly at the end of January. So that's quite staggering if you put it like that. Of course, very small, evidence, example there. But, Ollie, for Wolves, I mean, the situation they're in, is it a case of playing for pride or honestly somehow mounting this huge fight that they'll take to the final day and you just never know what's possible? Because if it is the case of they fight with the belief that they can still do it, they have to go to the Etihad and win, which is very difficult.
I don't think there's much pressure on them since they are where they are. I think they need to just focus on building some momentum back. Obviously, there's a lot of pressure on City at the moment because Arsenal running away with it at the moment, and City need to, get themselves grounded and get themselves back at it. Whereas Wolves, they just need to get as many points as they can and get themselves into a place where maybe they can get back into the swing of things and get back into the race. Obviously, at the moment, they're quite far clear, but they are gaining on the sides at the bottom, such as Burnley and West Ham. However, obviously, they will be looking to try and snatch something, and they could possibly do, potentially. I don't think they will, personally, because I think, City have the side they have. And the signings they've made have been really good as well. So I do think City will win. No questions about that from me. However, Wolves have something about them. I think that's quite obvious. But yeah, as I say, there's no pressure on them, unlike there is. So I think that will give them the advantage there. However, yep, I think no problems for City in the end. I think they'll cruise like a 2 or 3-0 victory. I'll go with 3. No problems from them this time round, but obviously the pressure's on them to get that win and get the momentum back for sure.
Okay, good stuff. Appreciate that. Thank you. Again, City will be expected to win. If they don't, it could be ugly. But as Louis mentioned, Mark Gay to introduce is quite big, and City need to sort out their defensive problems. Look at Mess at the back. They need to support Donnarumma. Gay's the type of signing that will do that. Next, then, Bournemouth and Liverpool. Well, no doubt we're going to start with you, Ollie, on this one. Big game, we feel, for the Cherries. Of course, your last game, you were competitive and very unlucky to come away with just a point in the end, being the stage you're in. And, after the dominant first half as well, 1-0 going into stoppage time. You didn't do that, but I can't believe I'm going to say it. As I say, so many times as a Spurs fan, I felt like your win against us maybe was a little bit, not significant, but a little bit of a turning point where you turn performances into results, picking up more points because you seem to always play well and lose. Maybe that's changing. We know after this. But what's the realistic aim in this game? Do you think a point, or do you think you can go and beat Liverpool that have been a bit inconsistent?
Yeah, it's difficult to tell with Liverpool because they are a weird side at the moment. Obviously, I watched their game yesterday, and I thought they were actually really good. The problem is they have Salah back, and he always scores against us, and I'm really annoyed he's back. I wish he wasn't playing because I know he's going to score. He always does. And our form against Liverpool is appalling. Whether they're in a good form or not, they always seem to get 3 points against us. So I'm not looking forward to it, I'll be honest. I'm quite nervous about it. I was thinking about my score prediction. I think it's going to be 2-1 to Liverpool. And I
Okay.
think they'll get something last minute as well. I think it's going to be a last minute winner, probably from Salah, because it always seems to be Salah. But I think, as you say, we'll bring in a good performance and we'll press them high. And I think, we'll take it to them. However, they have the side they have. And obviously, I've been really impressed with Wirtz, actually. I think he's been doing really well for them lately. And he's the one that's making them work at the moment, as well as, the usuals like Szoboszlai, etc. But I do think they'll end up being too good, and they will be clinical. They'll need to be, but we will get our chances. We will score as well. But I do believe that Liverpool will snatch it at the end, to be honest.
Thank you for your honesty and also your thoughts there. Thank you for kicking us off on that note. Matt, if I come to you and we focus on Liverpool, big win for them in Europe. That game firstly, I'll just say against Marseille was kind of painted as it could be very, very difficult for Liverpool to walk away and get a result. Roberto De Zerbi's Marseille and the attacking players that they have, but it turned out that Liverpool really no big pressure on them. They ended up winning 3-0. And who really stood out to you in that game as well? And do you think that those individuals, whoever they were that stood out to you, can also have a good performance in this game?
Look, I think the player that stands out, pretty much has done in every single game they've had, is Szoboszlai. He's been their best player. He's been by far their best player. And again, on the score sheet, and free kick again. He's got a knack for free kicks this season. He does, scoring one against my club. Look, this game's difficult because it was a difficult game at the start of the season when they played. I just think that they just had more firepower, hence why they won. However, Semenyo not being there is major, and I'm going to go with a 4-2 Liverpool win. I think Salah scores. He might even score 2 or 3, but he's definitely scoring, like you said. And I think that they'll probably build on that good performance against Marseille away from home. They'll come back to Liverpool and they'll put in a very good performance. I still think that they'll concede because defensively they don't look great at all. I don't know what it is. They've got Van Dijk, they've got freaking Alisson, but they just don't look good defensively this season. And yeah, 4-2.
I think this game's got goals in it, hasn't it? I think it'd be very obvious to say both teams good going forward. I give both credit. They always look dangerous. You always think with Bournemouth Liverpool player they're going to score. In my head, I always say at least 2 goals on most occasions. If they don't, it's because they haven't been clinical enough because they certainly create enough chances to. But I can't really sing those praises defensively for either. I think Bournemouth are really missing some of the players they sold in the summer. And nodded the head there from Ollie, says it all. Some of the players that they lost, of course, as expected. Maybe to start with, it was a bit like it looks like Bournemouth are coached really well. Iriola doing a fantastic job. But as time goes by, of course, what we expected maybe at the start we started to see? Would you think that'd be fair to say, coming back to you, Ollie, that now we're maybe seeing what you expected from the start, where you concede a lot more goals and just don't get as many points?
Well, I think the players we've signed, we've sold too many of our players that were there before to just replace them instantly. The ones we've signed, especially at the back, haven't really gelled to the side yet. Like Diakate, for example, he's one who he started off okay, and then when our form dipped, he did as well. To be honest, he I'm going to be honest, wasn't very good. And obviously we signed another centre half, which was kind of like a Hauser replacement, tall Serbian centre half as well. Good with the ball, like Hausen was. But he struggled with injuries, and he isn't anywhere near that kind of level where he's ready to start in week out. The only one that I can fully give credit to in our defense is Alex Jimenez. You may have seen him against Brighton, got the man of the match. He's been pretty good this season. On the whole, he's quite like an attacking. He's a Kirkes like player actually. Kind of likes going forward. Quite has a bit of he's a bit feisty and aggressive. Likes fighting for the ball. Likes to tackle. But he's very very quick. Not the he's not the most physical player ever, but he's a good player. But I think in defence, it just looks very unorganised. Obviously, the only one we properly have kept is Senesi, who's looked our best centre half, and that's kind of the reason why, because he's the only one that's remained. But it takes a while to get used to Iraola's system, really, because it took Housen a few games. It took Zabani a long time to get used to it. Kirkes in his first season was absolutely horrendous, I thought. So if things take time with Bournemouth system, and I think we'll get better as the season goes on. I think when we get into good form again, I think the players we have signed will look a lot better as well. It's just about time, just about patience. I think that's with a lot of teams, though, to be honest. A bit like Spurs and Frank, really. Same sort of situation, I think. So it's just about the time.
Ollie, thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. Lou, have you got anything to add before you score prediction for this game? How do you see this one going? Both teams, like I said myself, love a goal but can't keep it out of their own net.
Yeah, I think to be honest with you, I think both the guys have pretty much summarised my thoughts as well on this game. I will add that Bournemouth haven't gotten a result against Liverpool in the last 6 meetings. It's not very pretty between those two, and it is worse for another team, which is a stat I'll mention later on for another game, which will probably shock the panel, which I found out. But I think this will be a bit of a closer game than maybe some people have predicted. For me, I've gone with 1-1.
Interesting. Okay, 1-1. That'd be good to see. I mean, Liverpool need to get a run of results together if they want to be, for example, where Aston Villa are. But in Unai Emery's eyes, Aston Villa, in his own words, are not top 5 contenders. That's interesting. That tells me that he thinks that Chelsea, United, Liverpool all catch Aston Villa. Of course, it's not a crazy thing to say, but you thought we had a little bit more trust in his side when just a few months ago he was saying anything's possible, and he brought on the talks of the title race. So something he's not happy with. And he was very funny in his press conference in Europe as well. I mean, they are winning, if I'm not mistaken, currently in the Europa League. He's very funny in his press conference, and clearly something he's unhappy with. And he's got a big contract at Aston Villa. He's got a lot of power. So I'm not saying he's going to walk out or anything like that, but again, tensions emerging with a lot of managers in January. Let's just say they always do voice their opinion, but this January, some have got a fair bit to say. Talking a fair bit to say, I mean, both of these clubs have been the victims of that, really. Crystal Palace and Chelsea, absolutely perfect way to introduce it in a London derby. Matt, can I kick it off with you? Crystal Palace, it's been a long time since they've won under Oliver Glasner. And this month seems to be going from bad to worse for Crystal Palace fans. Looks like Mateta is a serious possibility he could leave. Gay, of course, has now left. Glasner's leaving at the end of the year. Casemiro leaving probably means that Adam Walton goes to United, if we're being honest, at the end of the season. Not definite, but that's what looks likely. So Palace now just want the season to end and just want normality back at the football club. They want what they had, put it that way. But in this game, because Chelsea are a new outfit under Liam Rosina, can they take advantage of that and finally get a win?
I think they can, and I think the fact that a lot of things play into Palace's hands in that you wouldn't expect it to. In Glasner is obviously leaving at the end of the season. Mateta wants to leave, and with players that want to leave their football clubs, they usually perform very, very well so that they're in the shop window. And I think that Palace will spank Chelsea in terms of the performance, and I think it is going to be 3-1 to Crystal Palace. I think Chelsea, look, their performances under Liam Rosina is concerning. I watched their last two games. I watched them when they played us. They were terrible. We just gave them 2 goals. And they're getting wins, fair enough. But at what point do you start calling out these performances? Because they're majorly concerning. I mean, scoring only 1 goal against Paphos at home, who are basically out. I thought Chelsea were going to batter them 4-5-0 potentially, but they scored 1 goal and it came in around the 80th minute, and I think they could be in serious trouble, Chelsea. And I just think Palace it being at home, will take advantage of a rookie being in the dugout, and I think they'll hand it to them.
Okay, interesting. Thank you for your thoughts there. I mean, at half time, Chelsea removed Philip Jorgensen and brought on Robert Sanchez. I can't believe that. Desperate to bring him on the pitch, really, Sanchez. But you never really see, well, not since I've been watching football, goalkeeping change at half time.
Wait,
Unless
did they
it is an
really?
injury. Yeah, half time. Yeah, made 2 changes at half time. Weird
my
one as
God,
well.
they
Reece
did.
James. Well, they made an attacking change as well. I think Reece James come off Esteval, I want to say. I know Esteval was in the second half. I think it was at half time. I believe they shifted Enzo Fernandez back into midfield. So, yeah, he changed 2 things at half time. So, clearly not happy. But the goalkeeping, I just think goalkeeper's a waste of time. It's a waste of substitution. But I didn't watch the games. It'd be unfair for me to say that. But with the Paphos stats and the way they've been playing, I don't think the goalkeeper was the biggest concern at all for Chelsea. I think Sanchez is a concern. I don't know whether Jorgensen is or not. Interesting. So that's one, to go back and have a look at. Interesting to see the goalkeeper's reaction when he's told he's coming off at half time. I don't believe it was an injury either, because there's been no confirmation of injury going into this weekend's game. I don't believe it's injury related at all, more performance related. Louis, on this game, how do you feel it going? A London derby. I mean, it's interesting if we focus on Chelsea that, Matt says that because it feels like a more positive feel around Chelsea because they've got a lot of good results since the managers come in. But ultimately, performances haven't been breathtaking. Everybody can agree with that. How do you see this game going? Can Crystal Palace, come up with a win?
Well, I think this game is the definition of do your research, because the truth is Liam Rosina doesn't play pretty football. He plays football that gets results, and that will be a thing that many Chelsea fans will not like, which I think will end up in his downfall. He gets wins, the football's not attractive. It's very ugly, it's nick a goal, it's kick and rush. It's not great. But the one thing that I will say is to sit here and predict Palace to win, given their current situation and given the previous record between these two sides, is what I need to talk about. Because I found this stat out and I was stunned. Between the last 17 meetings of Chelsea and Palace haven't won. Within the last 17 meetings, Chelsea have won 14 and drawn 3. That's across a lot of seasons. That's an array of fixtures, it's fair to say. I think this will be a Chelsea win. Palace are in freefall, and I think Palace are in big, big trouble. They're struggling to attract players to signings. They don't look like they're going to be doing much or any business throughout this remainder of the window, especially in a lot of departments where they need signings. They might lose Mateta, or he might just go on strike. As mentioned, he might go and he might play, and he might play really well and go on a shop window, but he also might go on strike. What if he just says, I don't want to play? I don't want to turn up. There were rumours he was going to do that against Sunderland last week. Maybe he'll do it this week. We're not too sure on that one. I think this is a great opportunity for Rosinia to get another good result on the bounce. A win in the Champions League, a win in the FA Cup. Let's get another win in the Prem. It'd be 2 in a row. It would give Chelsea players confidence. Forget what the fans think. Let's focus on the players. That's the biggest trouble Chelsea have had. They've really struggled with in-team confidence, and that's what he does best. And that's exactly why he'll do well under them. That's why I think he will do well. Chelsea need to get wins at the moment. This top 4 fight is very, very close. Their competitors around, Liverpool, they've got Bournemouth. Manchester United have got Arsenal, which we'll talk about in a moment. These people around them, Newcastle playing Aston Villa, that's a dud. Someone's losing out there. They need to take advantage of this Crystal Palace game. They're in bad form, away from home. Chelsea need to do well. I've
Louis,
gone
thank
with.
you very
I forgot to have my score prediction there.
Oh, yeah.
2-0 Chelsea.
Look, I'm just saying, right? Records are there to be broken.
Records are there to be extended.
Love it. I suppose this way you pretend to look at it, I suppose, whether you're a Liam Rosina backer or not, on how you feel generally on this game. Ollie, do you have anything to add? And if not, your score prediction?
I was going to say the same as Louis. To be fair, I think it's quite similar. It's quite. I think I see Rosinia as the boss to take Chelsea to a good position, but it's not going to look great while he does it. Statistically, they're going to suffer. Maresca was most of his football was a lot more stat based. It was to please whoever's looking at these stats and going, they're taking this number of shots, they're scoring this number of goals. But Rosinia isn't going to do that for them at all. He's gonna be clinical, and he's gonna get the chances they need to get to win games. I think defensively they're going to improve under Rosinia. And I think we've seen that so far. They are tight in defence. We can see that in certain cases. Obviously, against Arsenal, not so much. But I think we will see that as we go forward. And I think they will be able to cancel Crystal Palace out because of how Crystal Palace are going at the moment. I think if they still had, their key fundamentals and the manager wasn't halfway out the door, I think it'd be all right. But I think Chelsea will edge it 1-0. I don't think it'll be a pretty win, and I think Palace will have their chances as well. But I think the way they're going at the moment, I think Chelsea are going to edge it. But I don't think it's going to, in general, be a great game. If I'm honest, I think that's the thing we're going to take from it.
Thank you very much. You've got 4 games to go, and because we've got Spurs podcast on this channel airing from myself, who's hosting again after, we're going to speed it along a little bit. So 4 games. I'm going to get just one of your thoughts on every game, and the other 2 to give score prediction, if that's okay. So Newcastle then against Villa. Louis, I'm going to give this one to you, if you don't mind. What are your thoughts going into this and your score prediction?
This is a blockbuster fixture. This is very important for both sides. Villa need to extend that gap they currently have in the top 4, reduce the gap to Arsenal, if you will, just to keep staying in that top 4 position, which will go hand in hand with each other. Also interesting for Newcastle, because they are such a weird team. This Newcastle side, they are. In one week they're doing amazing, and then the other week they don't do well. It's really, really confusing to me. Emery has had a lot of trouble recently. That loss to Everton was a real pain. Also, they've lost Kamara for the rest of the season, which is a very, very big. He's been one of their key players. So to have him gone is a massive miss for Aston Villa. And to give the flip side to Newcastle, they'll be disappointed to that draw against Wolves, but they need to get something out of this game to keep with the top 4. If you lose 2 weeks in a row or don't get a win for 2 weeks in a row in a top 4 fight, you'll suddenly find yourself in 13th. That's how close this league is if you're unlucky. I do think this will be a very intense game, and in honesty, I think they'll cancel each other out. So I've gone with 2-2.
Great stuff. Thank you very much. Big up to a comment there saying young panel tonight. Nice to see the growth, big future ahead. Thank you very much. Very kind indeed. A young panel, very talented one as well. Thank you very much for that comment. And if we can get just score predictions from Ollie and Matt. So Ollie, I'll come to you first. Your score prediction for this game?
Big game, highly anticipated, but it's going to be 0-0.
I love that. Your talk there, brief talk, gave everything other than the 0-0 prediction. I was thinking, oh, where's this going? So, Ollie, thank you very much. Matt, can I get your score prediction?
I think it's going to be 2-0 Newcastle because Villa have lost Kamara, very key piece.
John McGinn.
Yeah, and I think their midfield will be wide open.
Unai Emery is very, very upset. Honestly, listen to that press conference. He's got his head literally on the floor, and he hardly saying a word. He did not enjoy that at all. It's not a very good watch. Remind me of Ange Postecoglou, feet, literally his head in it, looking at the feet, down at the floor. You're like, hang on, hello, you awake? Maybe not after watching, sometimes the way that Spurs play, but it was always exciting under him, to be fair. Brentford then and Nottingham Forest. Interesting to see how this one goes. Ollie, I'll give this to you for your thoughts. What do you reckon about this game and your score prediction at the end of it?
Well, I was sort of looking at this one with, I wasn't sure really, because I'm not sure whether Brentford are going to fall down a bit of poor form, and I think they're probably due it. Whereas Forest, they have a lot of pressure to ramp up points now, especially with West Ham winning last weekend. I think they need to get a move on with getting some points here. And obviously with Sean Dyche there now, I think he can get points out of nothing. So it's a difficult one though, because obviously Forest are away and they're expected to get these 3 points against quite a tough Brentford side, in general this season, I'd say. But I think Forest are probably gonna. I think they'll win 2-1. I think they'll have it'll be a tough one, and Brentford tough nut to crack. But I think Forest, under the pressure they are, I think they're gonna nick it.
Ollie, thank you very much for that. Thank you for your thoughts and score there. Thank you, Louis. What's your score prediction for this game?
As mentioned, I think this can go either way. Very tough for both sides. I've gone 3-1 Brentford.
3-1 Brentford. Okay, yeah, it's one of those. I do agree. It could go either way, but Brentford are very strong at time. It's fair to say, and we're looking to bounce back. Matt, can I get your score prediction?
Look, I got to back my boy Thiago at Brentford, so I'm gonna go 2-0.
Good stuff. Thank you very much. And sticking with you, Matt, Arsenal and United. As an Arsenal fan, give us your thoughts in this game and end of this score prediction.
Look, if we didn't have that midweek game, I'd be worried because Man United have come off a massive result in the Manchester derby. So thank God we played a midweek fixture and battered Inter Milan. And with confidence high, I'm going with a 3-1 win to Arsenal.
Ooh, confident win there. Okay. Thank you very much. Louis, can I get your score prediction? Any chance of the Michael Carrick resurgence continuing in game 2?
Potentially, but I think it'll be a close game. But Arsenal, I think, are going to edge it. They've got too much talent. 2-1 Arsenal.
Okay, hard to disagree with that. Thank you. And Ollie, score prediction?
Yeah, I think last week Man City got caught on a bit of bad form, to be fair. And I don't think Arsenal were in that position, so I think they'll win 2-1.
Okay, keep going for Arsenal, I'm sure is the message. A couple of draws for the last game, so Arsenal need to get back to winning ways in the Premier League, which they often do. Everton and Leeds then, the final game. Let's go round then. And I'll give this one to you, Louis, to end in terms of your thoughts. How do you view this one? Leeds, of course, you've spoken about last couple of months, really good form. Everton, not bad either, but with Jack Grealish now out for a few weeks, this will be a blow to them. Where can you see the creativity and goals coming from now?
It's got to be the man, Iliman Ndiaye. He is now that player that will fill in that left wing role for Everton under David Moyes. I predicted this on the podcast a while ago, and many people were quite shocked when I said that Everton would fall off in the new year, and they've only got one win. in the new year. I don't know what it is about David Moyes, but he always does it. He falls off in the new year after having a great first sector of the season. It's happened countless times, but they do find themselves in a position where they're 4 points off Champions League. It's a glamorous stat that I think will fade over time, but they are in a prime position to still get Europe, but they need to continue that form because, again, it's so close. And, you know, if I really quickly link it back to West Ham, under David Moyes, when we were in a position where we were in the top 4 slot and had our best ever points tally up till Christmas, for that whole second year, for when we headed into New Year, we got 2 wins the entire year. 2 wins the remainder of the season. I don't know what happened. And I think the same might happen at Everton. He wasn't backed during the window, still open. But against Villa, they were very lucky. Anybody who watched the game would understand they were very, very lucky against Villa. And Leeds were lucky against Fulham. Both won by 1-goal margins in very lucky fashion. Leeds are worse away and Everton struggle at home. So, you know, which way to go? I think this is going to be quite a close one. So I've gone with 1-1. I think they cancel each other out again.
Thank you. Yeah, it's one of those that draw seems likely, let's just say. Louis, thank you. Ollie, can I get your score prediction, my friend?
1-0 Leeds.
Oh, okay, 1-0 Leeds. Everton have a problem at home. I mean, Tottenham can't take credit for anything this year, apart from maybe the fact we beat Everton at Hill Dickinson Stadium, the first team to do so. And since then, they've gone like, off a cliff at home. But they've strengthened away from home since then. I mean, hard to believe. And that stat there from Louis, 4 points away from the Champions League places. That is just baffling. I mean, it represents the whole of the league, really, how tightly congested the majority of it is anyway at the moment. To end, Matt, can I get your score prediction, please?
I think this will be a very comfortable win for Leeds because Everton have had a big blow recently in Jack Grealish. He's out for potentially 3 months now. And I think he's been so key for them for getting results over the line, you know, and for contributing in goals and assists. And I just think they're going to really struggle. And Leeds, you know, they are on form. You know, they won their last game. But, yeah, I'm going to go with Leeds 2-0.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that. There you go then. Louis, can I get your... I don't know if you've given... Who hasn't given their score prediction? I thought someone hasn't. Have you all given it?
No, we've all given them.
You've all given it? Oh, my bad. I thought one of you hadn't given score prediction. Okay, I don't know why. Just impulse to be hang on. Don't miss someone out like before. Okay, thank you very much then. That wraps us up for the Scarfey Talks Premier League podcast. Thank you to everyone for this episode. If you're listening on YouTube, please subscribe if you're new. Matt, thank you very much. Firstly, where can people follow you on social media?
I am on X and it is AFC Matt X with 2 X's.
Great stuff. Thank you. Make sure to follow Matt on the socials. Quick shout out, by the way, the QR code next to my head is a direct link to subscribe to the YouTube channel of mine. Thank you very much for your support. Ollie, where can people follow you on social media and simply AFCB?
Yeah, so I'm found on X, just simply AFCB. Just the thing in the black where you can see here, just simply, and then AFCB.
Great stuff. Ollie, thank you as well for your time. And Louis, thank you as always. Where can people follow you on social media?
On X, it's Louis Van as on screen with 3 N's at the end. That's how it has to be.
Great stuff. Follow all my fantastic guests on social media. Thank you very much until episode there. And for next time, thank you for watching this episode.